My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is "Don't Call Me White." This you may be familiar with this statement from the album called Punkin' Drublic by NoFX. They have a song called "Don't Call Me White." I grew up listening to NoFX, the Dead Kennedys, No Means No, beautiful Canadian punk music. But the reason I want to talk about this is because there are many in this world that are what we call YOLOers. YOLOer is you only live once. And that would mean that I incarnate as Heather Mackey, as a white lady, and then I die, and then I'm done being incarnated in a body. And I never want everyone in the world to believe the same thing. I don't want you to believe what I believe. That job is taken. Believe what you believe. I love you as you be. Thank you, diversity. Thank you, diversity. We have a very diverse world. There's not just one type of flower or one type of grass or one type of cloud or one type of money or one type of person, right? There's diversity is the order of the day all day. Through all of creation, we can see that to be true. So I'm glad that you get to be you. But as I've said many times, I'm not a YOLOer. I do not think you only live once. I do not think that I'm right either. I'm right for me. We have individual truth, and your individual truth and your individual philosophy might be that you live one time, and good for you. I'm glad you found what works for you. I don't believe that way. I believe that we live many, 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 many times. And since time and space are ultimately a delusion, we live them all in the eternal moment of here now. So Heather Feather is talking to you on this video right now as a Caucasian woman. That's definitely what my body is, right? But she's also, from my perspective, which deeply believes in more of an oversoul and in multi-locality, is in all the incarnations, right? It's all connected. It's all subatomic particles. It's all spirit, right? So to me, from my perspective, from my philosophy, it's all unified. And we are not just the body. I'm not just this. Heather Feather, when you are talking with her, when you are listening to her, when you're engaging with her, is not just this flesh costume. And for me, it's not a single shot. Like, I don't think that we get one little chance, one little at evolving. I think that's a vast journey of many, many lifetimes, just like many Buddhists and Hindus believe. I believe we live many, many, many lifetimes, which means I have been not just a woman, I've been a man. And it means I've been not just white. My dharma is based on my past life in 4th century Egypt as a man that was African. And many of my past lives actually revolve around India. I had my name legally changed to India because when I was 13, I saw the movie Gandhi. I was in such awe of the man he chose to be. And I started studying A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who wrote many books about he was a beautiful soul that gave a lot of Westerners understanding around Hinduism. So I always had a book in my arms from Prabhupada where he's talking about Krishna. He's talking about, the Bhagavad Gita. And I fell in love with India. I fell in love with India when I was a teenager. I was like, I love Gandhi. I love India. These humans are my favorite humans on the planet. I freaking love what they're doing. I love this teaching of nonviolence. I love the idea of being a steward of the earth and not consuming death to stay alive. I love this idea of being reverent towards an animal. I just loved everything about India. And I've had a ton of past life readings, and in many of them, I was in India. And on Past Life Crossing with my sister, the relevant life to where we are now was in India. I've had an ex that was a yoga instructor in our past life. We were in India. We ran a business together, And so I believe personally, I've had a lot of lifetimes in India. I had my name legally changed to India because I fell in love with India in this life at a very early age. Likely because my soul is very connected to there. I've seen in my own past life awareness, which is something that I do. I've seen this place in India where there's like outdoor rectangular temple with a statue of Ganesh, and there are candles and there are flower petals, and I can see that I spent a lifetime often going to this outdoor statue of Ganesh, just praying to Ganesh, I had a lot of obstacles in that life, and I spent a lot of time in prayer and devotional prayer to Ganesh in that life. So I can see that my journey has included that, but it's included many things. It's included many different cultures. So from my perspective, I am not a white woman. This is a flesh costume. This is a character I am playing. What is your culture right now? Whoever's listening to this, can you imagine having been another culture? Is it possible that if you're white right now, you've been brown before? And if you're brown right now, you've been white before? It's definitely possible. It's, in my opinion, highly probable based on the number of reincarnation. There are millions of stories of people that have had reincarnation experiences, right? And there are millions of near-death experience stories where people experience consciousness beyond the body, right? So there are things for me in my own studies that have pointed to the idea that I am not this singular expression of Heather Feather. Heather Feather is a layered and complex thing. For trust. That is true. And I am many things. I think the thing I am the least is the flesh costume, right? That's the thing I am the least. It's the thing it is an aspect of this Maya illusion hologram dream. You know, if you asked a Mongolian dark edge shaman or a scientist, they would call it a hologram or Heather Feather. If you ask Kahuna, they would call this a dream. If you asked a Hindu or a Buddhist, they might call it Maya or illusion. There are a lot of things that reflect to this emptiness. Subatomic particles, 99.999% emptiness. The 3 quarks within a subatomic particle, 99.999% emptiness. Guess what else is empty? Holograms. Maya illusion dreams. You know? So where are you when you dream, right? It's not a place. You didn't go to a place, so it's empty, right? So this is emptiness, playing a character so that a certain movie will play out. But this spirit has inhabited other characters and other movies have played out. And because to me, time and space are a delusion. Why? Because experience is our great teacher. We're only ever here now. I'm never over there. If I go over there, then there becomes here. And I'm never in the past or future, even though my mind might wander about the cabin. I'm always now. Heather Feather is physically always right here, right now. Which is why they say be here now, because I'm not somewhere else. And as I wander into like past and explore potential futures, I'm not really being present with the delicious moment of grace and joy that I might experience in this place by being with myself where I actually am. But there's a great, in the modern age, we've got a lot of communication around race and culture. And there's a foundation I find that's ever present in this conversation. And that foundation is what I call YOLO thinking. And I don't vilify YOLO thinking. I don't want a daisy to be a rose. I don't want a dog to be a horse. I don't want, this type of cloud to be that type of cloud, that type of tree to be that type of tree. Mother Nature expresses diversely, including humanity. Life is diverse. A lot of the challenges two-leggeds face at Earth School is wanting everyone to agree with you. And Mother Nature has always been diverse. She expresses diversely in every moment of now. The rays of the sun vary throughout the day. Everything is diverse. And so if you're YOLO, I love that for you. I'm so glad you found what works for you. For me, that doesn't work. So if you come to me and you perceive me as a white woman, you can trust that you have missed Heather's perspective of what Heather is. I don't identify as a woman. I am playing the role of woman right now. What I am is spirit. And this spirit has taken up the flesh costume called white woman. And I've had a lot of lifetimes in which I have been not a white woman. I've been a man. I've been brown. I've been variant shades of it, So I do think, from my perspective, we get to be all the cultures. Whatever culture you are now, imagine being all the other ones. Are there some that you felt very drawn to? I've been very drawn to India. I had my name legally changed to India because I feel, and as I've gotten past life crossings and past life readings from the Akashic Records, so many of my lifetimes have been in India. No wonder, My brother-in-law is very drawn to Japanese culture. He's practiced martial arts for 25 years, So he may have had more lifetimes in Japan than he's had being a white man. So I mention this today because I'm asking you, is there any way in which you're placing people in a box of what you see? The tricky thing about that is that what you see may not be. I am emptiness. Are you sure you see me? Because what you're actually looking at on a subatomic level is emptiness. And then you're telling yourself a story about what that emptiness means, you know? You're telling yourself a story. We're all telling stories, you know? We're all storytellers. What is the story you're telling yourself about what you see? I would say you're not your body. It's a role you chose as a soul that is eternal from my perspective before you came down and wanted to watch a movie play out so that you could recognize something about your wonderful self. And many of us chose a role of like, ooh, I want to choose a role that's more oppressed, you know? And I think even that can be a little bit delusional. You know, it'd be really easy. I don't agree with this, but it'd be easy because I watch a lot of other women do it for Heather to say, well, I'm a female, therefore, you know, I'm more oppressed. I'm more oppressed as a female because we all know that men have, no, I don't agree with that. It's a philosophy that I'm constantly given to chew on that feels like falseness and rotten food that I don't want to chew on. How? How is that true for me? Because men are oppressed too. Men are often treated like weirdos or perverts if they take interest in a child, even if they just love children and are a loving man. They can be treated like they're weird, you know? Culturally, that can be consistent. Men can be treated like they're weak if they show signs of emotional intelligence or the ability to be sad. To me, it is a far more egregious crime to tell a human, which is a feeler, we feel joy, we feel sadness, we feel anger, we feel all the feelings. Humans feel all the feelings. All humans get to feel all the feelings. That's part of being human. To tell a human that they can't be human and feel their feelings is a much more egregious crime, or that they're weak or to be in judgment of them, than me earning more dollars. I don't get to take the dollars with me past the grave anyhow. You know what I mean? I'd like to earn the same as a man, sure. I'd like for things to be more equanimous. But I think it's really assumptive to assume that somebody that doesn't hold your labels necessarily has more than you. How do you know? Maybe you've spent all of your lifetimes having infinite privilege, and in this life you came into a great layer of suffering that you might see the life from another perspective. And maybe I have spent all of my lifetimes having tremendous suffering. And in this life, I came in with some graces and gifts because it's like, okay, that's a lot of suffering, you know. I don't have to build the pyramids in this life. I'm going to do something a little different. Let me give myself some graces, you know. So we just assume that when we have a perspective that that's pretty universal. When we talk about cultural appropriation, we're talking about, I can take your culture and, you know, I think people can be racist, xenophobic, and untoward towards another culture, which I don't necessarily perceive to be an evolved choice to make, a loving choice, a compassionate choice to your brethren. However, humans don't own culture. You didn't create your culture. You don't own your culture. So how could I take it from you? You don't own it to begin with. It belongs to divinity, in my perspective. Divinity is literally the divine spark light of spirit going into different flesh costumes and experiencing itself. And so it's all of it. It's all connected. It's not separate, right? My spiritual self is connected to this physical body, and that spiritual self has a lot that makes it what it is. So are there any ways today in which you find that you side with a label that you hold that someone doesn't hold, and you've decided it's justifiable to judge the label that you don't hold? I have the right to judge men because I don't earn a good enough wage, so therefore on men. It's like, I don't know about you, but the Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, Thich Nhat Hanh, Gerald Gardner, those are all men. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, these are all men, and they're unbelievable. And I don't even think I'm anywhere near as amazing as they chose to be, you know? So are there any ways you are labeling life, and you are labeling it in such a way where you are justifying judgment, separation, recrimination? Do you think that you are judgment? Because I'm here to tell you, you are the light of love. And the way we be the light of love is we understand it's all unified. It's a sea of beingness. How lovely that we get to be connected. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine, like and comment there. Amun.